Good morning, Pastor Ron Jetter, Immanuel Lutheran Church, Grandview, Washington, Tuesday the 10th of November, 2020. A few hours ago, I had to make what was so far the most important decision of my day. And it's a decision that will affect the rest of the day. And at the end of the day, I'll look back and I'll ask, okay, was that a good decision to make? But I made the decision to get out of bed and start my day. And I'm guessing that you did the same. I know it doesn't seem like much of a decision, and it's one I've made pretty much every day of my life. I can't think of a lot of days I said I'm staying in bed today, the odd day when maybe I was sick, but most days I just hit the ground running. It's just who I am. I'm not one of those to say, 5 more minutes, 10 more minutes. I don't use the snooze button. The alarm goes off, I roll out of bed and I don't look back. Go and hit the go button on the coffee pot and it starts grinding those beans and then feeding them into the hopper, and we like our fresh ground. Got to clean the thing every day, so it's a little more work, but we're not throwing away those little pods. We did those for a while, but it just seems so wasteful. So today, at the end of the day, I think I'll be able to say, yeah, I'm glad I got out of bed. Hey, I came here to Grandview, to the church. It's a little chilly in the sanctuary. I don't want to waste too much energy. We keep it at 62. How are your homes doing? Are you staying warm in your homes? Although today, even outside, it looks like it's going to be in the low 50s. Kind of a beautiful day, a little cloudy, some early showers, but ought to be a nice day. Yeah. Israel, were they happy about the decision they made to get out of bed? Were they happy about the decision they had made a month earlier? Chapter 16, the book of Exodus. And there are a number of things we're going to note. This is interesting. Then again, I find a lot of this stuff interesting. It's just my way. I love the Bible. I love the way it's written. I love the stories. I love the details. I love studying about them. I love talking about them. And I love thinking about what does that mean for me and my relationship with God and my relationship with the people of God. One of the things we see in the church, the cross. The cross has the horizontal dimension, and some have said that represents the connection between the individual and God. And then there's the vertical piece, representing the connection between you and me, between one another. And that Jesus Christ is the center, the one who is God and human, uniting humans with God and uniting us with each other. Both and, not either or. It's not me and my private garden. In fact, someone once said that song in the garden, I come to the garden alone. Well, the song is written in honor of Mary Magdalene, who alone has the right to say she comes to the garden alone. And actually, she came with 2 others, so even she didn't. But theologically, we as Lutherans would have to say, even if it's a pretty song, it really doesn't represent how we understand our faith. We don't get to talk about our faith apart from each other. Chapter 16 of Exodus, the whole congregation of the Israelites set out from Elim. It wasn't a bunch of individuals setting out, it was the congregation of Israelites. A congregation. It wasn't the people, it wasn't the nation. They are a congregation. They are not first and foremost a group of people united by DNA. They are a congregation united by their common worship of Yahweh. And Israel came to the wilderness of Sin. Now, the word sin here, capital S-I-N, is just the name. Sin, part of the Sinai Peninsula. It doesn't mean that it's like Las Vegas, Sin City. Israel came to the wilderness, so they're using the word Israel now. Israel, it's like saying America came to, as if 330 million people traveled together and arrived at. Well, we can say last week, America voted. America as a people did a common thing. America tomorrow will honor veterans. And I will not be on Bible study tomorrow because this eye is going to receive a new lens, and the cataract lens will be removed. So I probably won't be able to see very clearly tomorrow. So no Bible study tomorrow afternoon. But I will still be thinking about and honoring and praying for veterans and honoring the memory of my father who served in both the Navy in World War II and in the Army in Korea. Back to the Bible. The wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after they departed from the land of Egypt. Okay? On the 10th day of the month, they were told, get ready to leave Egypt, and that was the first month. The 14th day of the month, they took a lamb and slaughtered it, and at midnight that night, the angel of death came through. And then for 7 more days, they ate unleavened bread because they didn't have time. They were hoofing it real quick. They were escaping for those 7 days. Well, now a month has passed a month and a day since they took that first Passover lamb. They've been traveling the whole time then. The whole congregation of the Israelites, second use of that phrase, complained against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. The Israelites said to them, if only we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt. Oh, if only we had suffered the same fate as the Egyptians. We would be so lucky. Instead, and then they have this phrase, when we sat by the flesh pots and ate our fill of bread, for you have brought us out into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. They can only see this far in front of them. Sitting by the flesh pot. What's a flesh pot? Well, today we use the crock pot. We plug it in and we put in that whatever cut it is. Maybe it's a leg of lamb. I love leg of lamb myself. Not everybody does. It might be a roast beef or a chicken, and you put it in there and it slow cooks. Well, that's what people have always done, taking pots, generally crockery that they would put into the coals where it can cook slowly and tenderize that roast and pull off the bones and the fat and the skin, and then they can eat of that meat and fill of their bread. So bread and meat. Bread and meat. We were slaves. We were beaten. Life was so hard. But we had food. Now we don't have food. Then the Lord said to Moses, I am going to rain bread from heaven for you, and each day the people shall go out and gather enough for that day. In that way I will test them whether they will follow my instruction or not. On the 6th day, when they prepare what they bring in, it will be twice as much as they gather on other days. So Moses and Aaron said to the Israelites, in the evening you shall know that it was the Lord who brought you out of the land of Egypt. In the morning you shall see the glory of the Lord, because he has heard your complaining against the Lord. For what are we that you complain against us? Moses said, when the Lord gives you meat to eat in the evening and your fill of bread in the morning, because the Lord has heard the complaining that you utter against him, what are we? Your complaining is not against us, but against the Lord. Then Moses said to Aaron, say to the whole congregation of the Israelites, draw near to the Lord, for he has heard your complaining. As Aaron spoke to the whole congregation of the Israelites, they looked toward the wilderness, and the glory of the Lord appeared in the cloud. The Lord spoke to Moses and said, I have heard the complaining of the Israelites. Say to them, at twilight you shall eat meat, and in the morning you shall have your fill of bread. Then you shall know that I am the Lord your God. In the evening the quails came up and covered the camp, and in the morning there was a layer of dew around the camp. When the layer of dew lifted, there on the surface of the wilderness was a fine, flaky substance, as fine as frost on the ground. When the Israelites saw it, they said to one another, what is it? For they did not know what it was. Moses said to them, it is the bread that the Lord has given you to eat. This is what the Lord has commanded. Gather as much as each of you needs. An omer per person, an omer, a day's ration worth, to a person according to the number of persons, all providing for those in their own tents. Now, the first time we hear what they're living in, they have taken tents, some kind of covering, some kind of dwellings. The Israelites did so, some gathering more, some less. But when they measured it with an omer, those who gathered much had nothing over, those who gathered little had no shortage. They gathered as much as each of them needed. Moses said to them, "Let no one leave any of it over until the next morning." They did not listen to Moses. Some left it until morning and it bred worms and became foul. And Moses was angry with them. Morning by morning they gathered it as much as they needed, but when the sun grew hot, it melted. So even then they're wanting to save up just in case God doesn't provide. Well, we have savings accounts, we have pensions, we have Social Security. How far do we really want to take this? That God will provide. Doesn't God expect us to also do our part? Food for thought, pun intended.